Welcome back to another amazing episode of Krusty Car News, where we have 5 dazzling stories. First one, Nissan is literally going out of business. Their CEO just got canned. You're gonna want to find out more. The second story, car prices are just way too damn expensive. The third story, even though they're expensive, for some reason American buyers prefer these pricey top trim level vehicles. And the fourth story is we've seen the car market literally flip and how it's actually been ruined. And with all of these high prices, the fifth story is going to address some of the best deals. If you need to buy a new car and you're looking for 0% financing, I have an amazing list for you. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, grab a bucket of popcorn, and hold on for the ride. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. The first story is about Nissan dealers shutting down. Things are grim. The CEO literally just got canned. The CFO left months ago. Sales have been in the tank. The first half of 2024, they lost over 99% of their profits due to incentives and marketing. They can't get a break. Even Honda doesn't want to team up with them anymore. What's going on with Nissan? Could it in fact be true that they may only have 12 months left to live? And many Nissan dealers are sure to be looking at closing their doors. With sales in the tank, they're giving up their profits. Their profitability is going down and their credit rating is now at BB. Even Renault is scaling back, and unfortunately Mitsubishi, the Outlander manufacturer, which is ultimately shares the same bones as the Nissan Rogue, is saying they want to distance themselves and no longer participate with that collaboration with Nissan. Nissan's on their own, and the CEO says, unless we have an outside investor, we're going to be out of business. We heard the rumors in 2024 that the first half of the year they were struggling. They couldn't even make 99% of the profits were gone because of they're trying to incentivize these products. A lot of the issues that Nissan's been struggling with was reliability, durability, and products like the Rogue, of course, sadly carries the CVT transmission, which has been a nemesis for the brand in terms of overall reliability. Now some say, well, the newer Jatco update has been much improved. The bottom line is the reliability has been enough to choke a horse, and sadly you also have this variable compression engine, which has been the source of a lot of recalls and problems as well. Now Nissan is struggling in getting people in the door because of the lack of innovation, and a lot of the products that they're selling today just doesn't bring the customer base in. A lot of people look at this lineup and they're saying, look, we have Rogues, and more Rogues. And even with Nissan, with some of the lowest cost vehicles on the market, like the Versa Note, there's some vehicles that people can afford. Their collaboration partner, of course, Mitsubishi, who no longer wants to be part of Nissan's business model, also creates a subcompact vehicle that is very affordable. But they're actually canceling the Mirage. That's going away too. And it feels like the entire market is making this drastic shift to something that's a little bit more high trim level. Now, of course, we're rebounding again and we're starting to see that shift coming back. But the SUVs seem to be more of the telling story, where sales are up. Vehicles like this, not so much. Sedans, small subcompact car sales aren't doing all that well, and Nissan's feeling the hurt. And vehicles like the Nissan Titan, here we have a nice little Platinum Reserve. These were great trucks and they had a lot of promise. You had a V8 engine, naturally aspirated, and a lot of people were buying these. I know people personally that own Nissan Titans and they love their vehicles. They love the way it drives, they love the technology, and they love the style of it. But it's just not enough. When you get the big three and the heavy loyalists buying products from Ford, GM, Ram, it's a tough market to break into. Even Toyota Tundra has struggled, and now even with Toyota's issues with the recalls and the engines, people are seriously losing interest in the Toyota brand. But even the Nissan Titan, it was just never that truck that appealed to a broad enough audience, and as a result, they pretty much canceled the Nissan Titan. One electric vehicle, of course the Leaf went away. They don't have the hybrid drivetrains that a lot of other manufacturers have been providing, like Toyota, Honda. Every brand is getting into hybrid, and that seems to be the space that is taking up a lot of customer base now. That's right, market share is consumed by hybrid vehicles for those that are looking to get a more cost-effective, lower motoring costs, lower emissions. People are going more to hybrid because it answers a question of range anxiety and the challenges related to large battery replacements and overall durability, and being tethered up just doesn't appeal to enough people. Hence, we're starting to see the sales with Tesla going down and many other electric vehicle brands. While they are selling vehicles, they are shrinking in overall market share. The ICEs are what clearly a lot of people are buying, but unfortunately Nissan's got a lot of vehicles that just are not that appealing. And with even small vehicles like this little Kicks, some people are buying them, but it's just the overall durability that has been struggling. Of course, CVTs and some of the engines and drivetrain combinations that Nissan's been putting out have been creating all this reluctance by the customer base. They're typically going somewhere else. The Hondas and Toyotas, what they know, go with what you know, as they say. I mean, Nissan, look, very basic. I mean, they do sell a very unique looking car, and there aren't a whole lot of these small price point vehicles on the market anymore. But as I say, more people are going towards the SUVs, the small subcompact cars. They have a shrinking market share. And even the outgoing Nissan Pathfinder pretty much ruined their reputation. The existing Pathfinder, the brand new version, has been improved in most ways, and the reputation for durability with this particular model. Now, fortunately, the latest Pathfinder has been improved, and the torque converter auto, and as well the new generation engine has been improved from the outgoing version, but not enough people know about it, and hence the sales have not been there. And Nissan was missing something. The Murano is back. Here it is, and we'll look at the sticker price here in a second, but let's just take a quick look here. They are looking at creating more vehicles, and they promise to bring out new models, because the brand has been lacking that innovation. They haven't had the models out there. Nobody's interested. People are looking elsewhere. But now maybe, could this in fact be that vehicle that starts to bring clientele back to the base? Of course, they've given up the GTR, and realistically, most of their models just are lackluster, the ones that are existing. Now, here's something fresh. We have a new style headlights. I love this. Now look at this. You're going with the Ferrari F80 look. It has that black strip across the front. It's definitely a unique look. It's going for that more electrified look on the front grille. Certainly kind of a unique finish on that. More of a EV style rim. Naturally, what you have is fold-away mirrors that look like on the Jag F-Pace. Here you've got a nice touch on the handles, and look, you even get a little sunroof on top. Double fins. This is a shark on wheels. Yeah, it's a nice little revamp on the Nissan Murano. As you'll see, I love these new taillights too. Nissan, the newer badging, but the Murano SL. Is this in fact the beginning of the product line that's going to bring people back to the brand? I mean, a big issue is a lot of with all these manufacturers is the quality, of course, and the other issue is pricing. Well, does this vehicle have the pricing to get people back in? Well, let's take a look right here, shall we? This is a Murano SL all-wheel drive. It's a 25. Standard equipment, features at no extra charge. Quite a load. You've got alloy wheels. They're 20-inch, 255s, heated washer nozzles. You get taillights, LED taillights, enhanced intelligent 3D surround view. You get 8-way power driver, 6-way power passenger, 60/40 split leatherette, tailorette, remote. I mean, there's a list of information, a list of options here that are actually pretty extensive. You get a lot of features. The interior looks quite nice too. You do get a nice revised interior on this new Murano as well. Nicely done. But here we are. This is the new price, $52,828 for this new 25 Murano SL all-wheel drive. And 50 grand is a significant amount of money. Again, we tack on the extras, you put on the PPF and the floor mats and taxes, now you're at $60,000. Is that a $60,000 vehicle? I don't think so, not in my personal opinion, but a lot of people are gonna buy them. They're looking for something new and fresh, and what sort of competitors do they have? I mean, you could look at the Toyota Highlander as one of them. Honda Pilot might be something that might be in that space. There's certainly some strong competition out there. Is this what it's going to take? Think about the competition. That's what it really boils down to. And that's been the problem for Nissan. The competition has been fierce. They're creating more innovative products like plug-in hybrids or hybrid vehicles, some electric vehicles, and certainly ICEs that are more competitive and certainly have the reliability records that a lot of people are looking for. But these are the vehicles now maybe that help Nissan out. Hard to say. Pricing's the other aspect. But that's the thing. Nissan has been giving up all their profits on getting in people in the door by doing what? Giving them incentives. Lots of marketing and lots of incentives. Hence all the profits went away. The CEO now is actually openly admitting, unless they have an outside investor what they're doing today, there's no way they're going to stay in business. Something has to change. Nissan's lacking the innovation, spending too much on getting people in the door. We've already had the conversation of Nissan as well as Infiniti having to double up under the same roof because they can't afford to keep the lights on each individual dealership. There's been discussions as well as possibly buying out individual franchises just for the sake of eliminating some of the lower profit dealers that just aren't selling their product.
Could it be too little, too late? There's some great new vehicles that Nissan's coming out with. Yeah, while they're getting rid of the GTR and they're giving you some flashy new colors on the new Z car, they are in fact coming out with some new models. You're gonna wanna check that out. How did we get here? These car prices are just too damn high. 2020, we saw prices that were averaging $30,000, $35,000, and now the average transaction price we're seeing at $50,000. What happened? In the blink of an eye, prices just shot up through the roof. Car prices have risen as much as 33% in the last 10 years. Leasing prices up 36%. Wages have only gone up about 25 to 27% before tax earnings. We're losing touch with the ability to buy a new car. Canadians are seeing it even worse. This is now a marketplace where it's clearly the have and the have-nots. Have you been thinking about why the fact that you've got sticker shock, you walk on a car lot and you're looking at these prices and you realize, where do these prices come from? How did they get here? There's no way those cars are worth that kind of money. With full-size F-150s that now Lariat form, which is sort of a mid-trim, and now those vehicles are up in that $80,000, $90,000 territory. Platinums, $110,000 plus. How did we get here? Now these are Canadian prices and Canadians are seeing it even worse. Now, of course, with the imminent taxation increases with tariffs, things are about to get even worse. But even still today, with the way things are shaping up, can you even afford to buy a car? The average transaction price. Now, a lot of people are choosing to buy trucks and SUVs. They're much more popular than the smaller cars. You'll notice a lot of the cars are going away. Have you been looking at the industry as a whole? General Motors pretty much just gave away all of their cars. They're not doing that anymore. Same thing with Ford. Ford's no longer selling cars. And really, the only place you can find a sedan these days in a few luxury car segments, or even specifically Toyota and Honda still sells a few of those. But realistically, most car brands have almost all but given up on their car sales and go exclusively to SUVs, which is clearly a growing trend. But that has cost consumers money. Well, the average transaction price in Canadian prices, according to DesRosiers Automotive Consultants, they're actually saying the actual transaction selling price in Canada before taxes, before extras, that's just the core price of the vehicle back in 2023, was up to $53,100. That's up 29% from 2019 when it was only $41,000 and change. And go back 10 years to 2014 and the average transaction price of the automotive sector in Canada was only $33,400 for a brand new vehicle, of course, plus taxes. Now, adjusting for inflation, you're looking at over 30%. Now, we've seen certain sectors go up drastically more. A lot of truck manufacturers are jacking up more. We're seeing more like 30, 40, 45% increases in the last 5 years. But if you blended average, the automotive industry has seen an adjusted for inflation increase of at least 30%. Again, pre-income levels have only gone up from 25 to 29%. So that leaves us scratching our heads. Where do we make up the difference? Well, a big part of that is the enabling that's been going on with the banks. The banks have been a big part of supporting the automotive sector. You come up a little short, that 5, 10, 20% that you make less relative to the buying power of and the purchasing price of that new vehicle, well, guess what? The banks had us covered. How did they do that? Well, they gave us longer loan terms, 96 months, 84 months. So you couldn't afford it on a 5-year term. Well, can you afford it on a 6 or 7-year loan term now? Yeah, maybe. And see, that's the problem that we're faced now. These vehicles are just too damn expensive and we're having to resort to some desperate measures. But where desperate measures comes desperate times and even more desperate people. People are paying money that they don't really have. They're borrowing longer loan terms, more money to pay for these cars that largely they don't really need. But when we look at the Canadian Auto Trader's online data, it actually shows a different set of numbers. As a matter of fact, the high prices of brand new vehicles, all the way up to $65,219 by the end of 2024, Scale back a year earlier when it actually peaked at $67,000 and change, showed that there's absolutely ludicrous amounts of money. That's the average price of a new vehicle that these dealers were asking. That's the asking price you're finding on the data according to Auto Trader online data. Regardless, you're talking $65,000, $67,000, even 60 grand is a hoard of money. But then how did we get the average transaction price down closer to $50,000? Well, that's largely because people aren't buying all of those expensive trucks and SUVs, because a lot of those trucks, SUVs that we're finding on the traders are coming from dealers. Dealers are marketing them online, and we're seeing a lot of those prices dragged up. We're seeing a lot of those asking prices in that 60, 65, 70. And as I've already mentioned, it's very easy to find brand new trucks in that $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 for half tons, and diesel trucks in that $115,000, $120,000, $135,000 for the premium diesel trucks. Shows that prices are extraordinarily high. But the fact that we're seeing transaction prices slightly lower means that there's a selected bunch of buyers that are going for lower cost-effective vehicles, looking for deals, the big incentives at the end of the years. Clearly, there's a lot of push at 2023, and then, of course, last year in 2024, that's when all the dealers decide to push hard, provide big incentives, interest rates adjustments, and get you in their vehicle. They need to make their quotas. But that doesn't change the fact that these prices are extraordinarily high. I don't know about you folks, but it's a tough time right now. I gotta save up a lot longer and harder. Might have to make many more trips to the bottle depot to be able to save up for my next new vehicle. The third story, contrary to some of these high prices that we've been seeing, would you believe it, statistically, we're seeing huge numbers of Americans buying vehicles over $100,000. That's right, they're making a choice to spend on these extraordinarily high-priced vehicles. And the rate of these purchases are going up through the roof. We've seen the trends, and buyers now seem way more inclined to spend their hard-earned dollars on expensive trucks, cars, and luxury vehicles.
According to Cox Automotive, the average transaction price has been rising. We're seeing numbers of vehicles over $100,000 selling in alarming rates. In the first 2 months of 2025, we've seen as many as 52,000 vehicles over 100 grand. And for comparisons, exactly a year ago, that's up from 46,000 vehicles in the first 2 months of 24. And if you go back to 2020, only 12,000 vehicles sold across the US were actually over $100,000. Now, some of that accounts for inflation, but clearly there's a huge appetite for expensive vehicles. Range Rovers, premium BMWs, electric vehicles are all part of that contributing factor, but even expensive pickup trucks like this GMC Sierra we have right here, a lot of these vehicles have been going up at extreme rates. We're seeing trucks now well over $100,000. We're seeing diesel trucks cresting $120,000, $130,000, at least in Canadian prices. And vehicles like this Denali right here are not cheap. I mean, if we look right here, let's take a look at the window sticker. What do we have over here? We have $121,000 for this unit. And this is basically a Denali Yukon XL. Now, it's long, four-wheel drive, large and in charge. It's going to haul a lot of weight around. But people and buyers are generally looking for a lot of these full-size trucks. Even this little rig right here with the Elevation, which is clearly a lower trim level. This has the Duramax, the small turbo diesel engine. Has a lot of great features. Yeah, sure, you get, it looks like a leather interior, and you get the latest and greatest infotainment system. A fairly nicely decked out interior. But this is not a high trim level vehicle. How much is this? Well, let's take a look. This one here, wow, $84,000, everybody. And sure, while you get X31 off-road, you get some nice features, you get some plastic trim on the edges, step guard on the bumpers. Yes, you get the tow hitch and the split rear tailgate. It's a nice truck, even with a rear slider. But the fact is, this is not a high trim level vehicle, $84,000. And now with the average transaction price on vehicles today, we're up close to $49,000 based on the latest information by Cox Automotive, shows that the average vehicle price is going up. But what about the cheap vehicles? Did you realize the Mitsubishi Mirage is the only vehicle today that you can still get for around $20,000? So why are sales going down on the Mitsubishi? Why are they not selling enough of them? And why are they putting that vehicle to sleep? And vehicles like this little Buick Envista, as well as the Terrain right here, are the compact SUV territory. And these are a very hyper-competitive market. When we think about the Toyota RAV4s, the Honda CR-Vs, a lot of these vehicles appeal to a very wide audience. Because why? Well, they're relatively affordable, they're practical, they have all-wheel drive, you get lots of space and capacity, and they suit the needs for so many buyers, from young growing families to professionals, of course, to people just looking to do a little back road driving. They absolutely answer a lot of questions for a lot of different types of drivers. And that market is also up in the average transaction price of over $36,000, which clear indication that that drives up the overall average transaction price in the industry. A lot of these vendors are now incentivizing their vehicles. 7.1% is the increase we've seen, or equivalent to about $3,400, that these dealers are discounting a lot of these vehicles to get them out the door. A lot of customers would not buy them, but because they look at this big discounts here, discounts there, it clearly is enough to get people just knocking on the door and purchase their next new vehicle. Even vehicles like this are selling. Look at this little hot rod. Love this little blue. What do we have? A Buick. I see here an ST on the side. Has a beautiful little interior. I love the white finishing on there, or bone color interior. Pretty cute looking vehicle. LED tail lights on this Buick Encore GX. Now, even vehicles like this, again, the subcompact SUV space, are very popular, so they always sell. And even with these, though, they are being incentivized. Almost every manufacturer is incentivizing their brands, but some of the biggest discounts are coming in the way of Stellantis products, and we've seen this. And again, according to statistics, we're seeing the Chryslers, heavy discounts, Jeeps, massive Rams, and that's the only reason they've been selling as many Rams as they have. That's the only reason they eliminated a bunch of the days supply, and they've knocked it down from 150, 160 days supply down to about 105 to 110 days supply. And a large part of that has to do with incentives. That's why a lot of these vehicles are actually moving. But over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen trim levels increase. We've seen more of the high trim level vehicles hitting the lots where the lower trim level vehicles were not available. To get a vehicle that had the bare bones and technology that was very limited, a lot of times people would have to wait or special order it, and Toyota was notorious for that. Stellantis was notorious for that. General Motors was notorious for that. And you'd only find the higher trim level vehicles on the lot, which clearly meant that people were paying more for these full-size trucks, SUVs. You're dealing with this full-size, you're dealing AT4 Sierra, of course, diesel engines, you know they're coming at a price, and this one is certainly no different. But people are choosing this over something more bare bones like this. Here, you don't even have spray and liners, no liners there, no rear slider, and yet these vehicles, you'll still see 2022s and 23s on the car lots. Yes, in fact, I showed you that previous video that some of these entry-level base trim vehicles were still not selling. I'm still seeing 2 or 3 year old birthdays of some of these older basic trucks. They're brand new, but they're new old stock. And some of those vehicles are not selling. Why? Then if a lot of people are saying we need cheap, affordable vehicles, are they electing to leave those basic trucks on the lot? Well, a lot of it comes to value proposition. A lot of it comes to the fact that the prices are too high for what you're getting. So people decide, you know what, I'm gonna go mid-trim, go higher trim, get a few basic features in that. And that's what's ultimately incentivizing these buyers to go to something mid to upper trim level. Of course, a lot of times people are realizing these banks are gonna lend me all kinds of money. Now, of course, loans, 84, 96 months is the loan term on average now for a lot of these expensive vehicles. You know, vehicles like this, clearly with the Denali on the badge right there, it's a good looking unit, HD, so you've got the diesel, you've got all kinds of leather interior. This is a good looking truck. Let's take a look here. Yeah, we get a sunroof up in there. There's a sunroof. We get leather interior. It's a gorgeous looking unit, trim all over, you name it. It's loaded with chrome. You got the drop down step guards right there, nice chrome rims, big beautiful bold grille on these, but you're paying a lot of money for this. Is this in fact worth taking out a loan and paying $1,500, $1,800 a month? But people are choosing to do that. The banks are enabling that, and because the banks are giving you all kinds of money, people are making that decision to buy it. They're saying, hey, you only live once, I work hard for my money. And that's what's going on. There seems to be this shift, or at least in the last 4 to 5 years, to go to very expensive vehicles. The simple fact is a lot of these vehicles are very in different trim levels, and it's always going to be the upper trim level vehicles that people often go to. Not so much the elevation, that's very basic, but look at this little basic unit. Here we have a Sierra, we have no spray and liner, we have no slider on the back, we have a very basic truck, we have regular cab. Look, basic tires, this is highway rubber, steel rims, no spraying and the liners there. Very basic, lots of plastic, fantastic, all over the place. And this one here is a 2025 Sierra 1500 Pro 4-wheel drive. You can see right up there, and basically no options. This thing's as basic as things get. There's a few little safety features on there, but even this truck, at least the 5.3 liter Ecotec 3 V8 engine with the 10-speed automatic transmission. But we also know there have been some issues with that 5.3 liter V8. And this one here is going for $59,000, $60,000 for this very basic looking truck. 60 grand out the door, you're $65,000 for this? And it's no wonder people are spending the money on these more higher trim level vehicles like this. They figure for an extra 10 grand, you get twice the truck, you get crew cab, 4-wheel drive, you get better wheel packages, nicer trim like this. Everything's just dressed up tenfold. Okay, this one doesn't give you the slider on the back, but this one here does give you a price tag of $70,000 and change. So people often just go to this space instead. You still get the same engine, you get 4-wheel, and you just get a lot more room. But unfortunately, these trucks are just pricing themselves out of the market, and these vendors know it. And they ultimately know as well, when the customers sit down and they start picking out the options and the features, or they go down to the car lot and they see all these vehicles like this, they also realize when you actually start comparing them in the field, sure, well, the price seems okay on paper. Once you get out to the field, you realize that no, that vehicle's too basic. Look, steel wheels on here, very basic. I mean, look at the differences between a lot of these models. You know, even this, very basic. Here you get a light and you get this glossy black finishing here. So it's no wonder people are essentially walking by this one and picking this, and that's why these base trim level vehicles are not selling. And so the appetite for premium vehicles, some of the luxury vehicles, we know Jaguar, Land Rover, they've been pushing their products, heavy incentives, heavy loyal incentives. The truck, same thing. As we rounded out 2024, a lot of these OEMs were really pushing their products with these big incentives, and customers look at it with gleam in their eyes, and of course they think more with this rather than this, and quite often they get themselves into a long loan term because the banks will offer it up. And the appetite just means people would rather have a Denali than a lower base trim.
What do you all think? Would you be willing to spend $100,000, $120,000, $130,000 for some of these premium vehicles? I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And just in case you haven't got your toque or your hat from the Fourth Wall page for Exotic Car Play Place, be sure to grab your latest swag. You see down there the list, a whole host of jackets, shirts, swag. You'll love it. Get yours today. The fourth story, what the last 5 years has done to us in terms of the car market. It's absolutely ruined. Reliability has gone through the toilet. Prices have gone through the roof. Where does it all begin, and where does this story end? If there's one thing we've learned in the last 5 years, it's how car dealers are finding new ways and creative ways to make the consumer spend money, hard-earned dollars. We're seeing consumer debt rise at an alarming rate. Vehicle prices are going through the roof. We're hearing consumers are also getting out of control with their spending on credit card debt, student loans. The cost of food and housing is rising at an alarming rate. But nothing gets worse than the vehicle prices that we've been seeing. Taking a base vehicle, speccing it up, putting a lift kit, and now all of a sudden selling it for $30,000 more. There's a lot of creative ways that a lot of these dealers have found ways, and the banks have been enabling that. But let's take a look at what's going on. I want to run through some classifieds here and show you some examples of what's going on, why these vehicles are no longer selling. It's because the market is broken. Yes, it's finally broken. In 2025, we've seen spending at an alarming rate. We've seen escalations of repos absolutely getting out of control. We're all pretty much at the 7% mark now for subprime borrowers. And just looking at the price of some of these vehicles and the age of some of these vehicles, it becomes much more clear. So we're going to do a walkthrough on the classifieds, and I'm going to give you some classic examples. Let's look right here. Pickup trucks are some of the biggest culprits. We've seen some of the biggest updates and changes and price hikes on Rams, Stellantis products across the board. But while they're doing that, it feels like Ford has been skating just under the radar, as has GM. Nobody's really talking about them, but they've all been hitting us with significant price increases. I mean, just look right here, for example. Here's a 23 GMC 1500 power regular cab. Okay, it's a regular cab, rear-wheel drive. It's base, and they want $35,000. Is it any surprise that 2023 is still sitting brand new on the lot? How about a Maverick XL at $37,000? All-wheel drive, sure. Doesn't sound like the best deal though, does it? But that's what they're charging, and that was supposed to be a price point vehicle. Now we're hitting vehicles at a new Ford XL Super Crew all-wheel drive Maverick for the same price as a base half-ton. So something is out of miss, and that's all because the popularity. So they read the writing on the wall. When a lot of the popularity hit certain models, people were overspending. They were getting on board, throwing down the money and paying market adjustment fees. Toyota was bad for that here this last little while. Scroll down here, look, Maverick XL for $37,000, $38,000. We're at $40K pretty much out the door. How does that make any sense, anybody? You look at premium vehicles with the high trim levels, if they're priced respectively to what you're getting, the value added or the value proposition, people are okay in spending that. But it's not always the cheapest truck wins or the cheapest car wins. People are looking for value, and value is not there. See, that's the thing. Since 2020-21, we've seen the value proposition going down. That's why we've seen more and more people decide to buy used vehicles, fix up their old junk. Like I have a 2003 Ram and I just keep it running. It runs great, keep on going with it. That's what a lot of people are doing. But let's take a look here. Highest price first. Let's take a look and understand what's going on with some of these upper trim level vehicles. I mean, look at this classic example. Why these vehicles are not selling. Should it be of any shocker? When's the last time you've seen a Raptor Super Crew 4x4 driving around on the roads out in the wild? I mean, it's supposed to be an off-road vehicle, but who wants to take their $190,000 truck off-roading? Not me. Or $160,000 for an F-350 Super Duty? Where did they cut? I mean, what? These are the vehicles. I've showed you these on the car lots already. These big Harley Davidson F-350s, I've showed you those on the car lots. $160,000, $170,000. 160 all day long for those trucks. And there's lots of them. As you can see, no shortage of those on the lots. No shortage. And then you get into what? A Denali Ultimate for $155,000 for 25, $155,000. That is nothing more than a dressed up, full-size, one-ton, single rear wheel GMC pickup truck with the same diesel engine, with the same automatic transmission, with a lot of the same features that you're going to get in a mid-trim level vehicle. But again, we're talking about value add, and the value proposition is not there for a $155,000 truck. It doesn't make sense. Who's buying this? Because you can get majority of these features, leather and sunroof, not that you need any of that, but you can get that in a truck that costs $50,000 less than that. But just because it's got the Ultimate, it's got some of those great, features, decals on there, decals, depends how you like that. That they're justifying it, and just by throwing a sticker, a badge, giving you that RS badging or AMG badging or M badging, all of a sudden it's worth what, 30, 40K more? But that's what's going on here. BMW, Audi, Benz, they're all doing it. These car manufacturers, the truck brands are doing it. They'll get a lower trim level truck. I've seen this time and time again. They'll get something that maybe they're into it for $40,000, $30,000, well spec'd, and then they'll go put a big lift kit on it, fret it on the front of their lot, and all of a sudden that lift kit costs them probably 8 hours, 12 hours labor to install it, and then they get a couple good techs doing that, and they put the parts that cost $5,000. Next thing you know, they're charging $30,000 more, put a couple nice little flashy graphics. Next thing you know, you're paying $30,000 or $35,000 more because it looks like this rather than the base truck it came with. These are what's going on. People are not seeing what's actually behind the scenes. And of course, a lot of people like customization, but that's the problem. How did we get here? How did we get in this last 5 years and we've seen these big gross escalations of these pricing in the vehicle markets? $106,000 for Sequoia, Capstone. We scroll on down and we see all kinds of those for sale. Nobody's buying them because there's simply too much money. I mean, look at all of those piling up here, $100,000 plus. Who's buying a $100,000 Toyota? If you want to spend $100,000, you're usually going to places like Lexus, maybe you're going to Cadillac, BMW. You're not going to Toyota. And see, this is part of the issue. A lot of these brands are relying on the, or hanging on the coattails of their reliability. And unfortunately for Toyota, their reliability hasn't been all that it's chalked up to be. I mean, what's even worse is because they're doing a remake on a familiar name. Here, like this, Toyota Land Cruiser. See, this is an example of some of the latest and greatest popular models. Why would you buy this? Here's a Land Cruiser 25 for $91,000. You talk about ludicrous. Anybody going out there to spend $90,000 for a 4-cylinder hybrid Toyota needs to maybe check themselves, because $91,000 is a lot of money for by any standards, but for a 4-cylinder Toyota, and all they're using is the Land Cruiser name to ride on those coattails. I mean, this is effectively what you're talking about, a Lexus GX 550, where there at least you get the V6. This is a 4-cylinder hybrid for $90,000 Toyota. Absolutely bizarre to me how they're getting away with that and how people are even spending that. I don't know, everybody. What do you think about the last 5 years? Did you find it extraordinarily tough to buy a new vehicle? Or did you have no problems? You bought the car of your dreams. I'd love to hear that story. And the fifth story, I'm going to share you some goodies. You know, we're talking about high car prices, truck prices, SUVs, and all of these vehicles, their prices are going through the roof. I have a list. I'm going to share you some of the best options available right now this month. Yes, 0% for 3 years, 4 years. I'm seeing 0% for 6 years for many of these models. And some of these models, you're definitely going to want to check out. Of course, I've sold cars, retail. I've worked for Toyota, BMW. I've even worked for auto auctions. I've worked in the car industry, sold cars, fixed cars, you name it. I've immersed myself. I've lived and breathed the car business. And that's why I want to bring you some of the best deals. Today, let's take this from the top 24. Subaru Solterra, 0% financing for 72 months. Now, granted, it's their first EV. And we know electric vehicles are highly incentivized. Now, of course, with the mandates being lifted in the US, now there's a heavy push from the EV manufacturers to try to get their vehicles out to market. And this is one of those vehicles, if you're looking for a Subaru, you like the brand in general, and you're looking to get into something that's EV and maybe a little bit different than the conventional, this might be your game. So the next one is a 2024 Honda Prologue, same storyline. It's a 24. Of course, they're trying to get rid of outgoing model lineup, of course, move in as the 25s are rolling in and they're starting to hit the car lots now. 0% as well for 72 months, 6 years. Of course, again, a little bit stretched out, but at least it's 0%, so you're not taking on any significant burden in terms of finance rates. It is stretched out pretty long, and again, as I'd suggest, if you can look at maybe getting a 4 or 5 year loan. But in this case, 0% for 72 months, it doesn't actually cost you anything to borrow. And that would be a 24 Volkswagen Tiguan. I've seen lots of these on the lots. They haven't been selling all that well. Volkswagen's been struggling, even more so with the ID cars are almost giving away those lease deals on some of their electric vehicles. But the Volkswagen Tiguan is not electric. It is the smaller subcompact SUV. There is actually an optional third row. Now, I've tried that out. I've physically sat in it, and it was kind of a joke. I was putting my knees up into my chin, and I had to tilt my head sideways. So I know it doesn't really work all that well. It's really intended more for small people, but it's only an option. You don't have to upgrade for that. And you can get a 0% financing for 60 months or $2,500 back, cash back. So it kind of depends on how you fly there. But either way, there's some good opportunities. If you're thinking about getting a cheap European car, that might be your way to go. Just remember, reliability isn't necessarily Volkswagen's best game. We've seen this one on the list over and over again. It's a 2024 Kia EV6, same storyline. It's an electric vehicle, so naturally the sales are a little bit weak on EVs these days, and as such, they're pushing the incentives pretty hard. But if you're thinking about buying one anyway, this might be your time, because you're going to get 0%, 72 months, plus $1,000 cash back. They're really incentivizing these. So it's an interesting vehicle with a 310-mile driving range. It has a lot of optional features, some reclining rear seats, and some pretty interesting styling detailing. It certainly stands out from the rest. So the next one is actually a brand new, a 25, if you can believe it, Lexus RZ or RZ, however you want to say it, and purchase deal 0% financing for up to 6 years. That's pretty rare for Lexus and Toyota brands. They've usually been pretty good about, they're pretty standard with some of their lease and financing rates, and they're sort of holding moderate rates. They're never really giving their product away. But for 25, Lexus knocks roughly 11 grand off the base price because there's a new base trim. So they've sort of shifting the model lineups there a little bit. There's lots of cargo space, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 14-inch touchscreen, and a pile of different features. You also get a 266-mile maximum driving range, which is moderate. You're probably in that, 350-kilometer range. It's not phenomenal, but again, if you want a nice luxury vehicle, And I can't say it's because of Lexus. Lexus, it doesn't really matter. Lexus builds some incredibly reliable internal combustion vehicles, but some of their EVs. But Jeep Grand Cherokee, here it is, the 4xe. So if you're looking for a plug-in hybrid, 72 months, 0%, big goose egg, great deals there. 26 miles alone on electric. So as a plug-in, a lot of these vehicles, they don't give you a mass amounts of driving or free range. But if you need to take a little trip to the grocery store and back and you don't want to start up the engine, that's what some of these great plug-in hybrids are doing. Toyota has the same thing. You know, you can get 40, 50 kilometers out of some of their plug-in hybrid vehicles. So this is a potential option if you like the idea of a plug-in hybrid, but they're kind of an expensive vehicle. You do get some great infotainment systems with a 10.1-inch touchscreen and a 10.25-inch digital cluster. So lots of great features here. And honestly, they're attractive vehicles, but they are highly priced. So it's not a shocker to me. But if you're interested in buying one, I mean, 0% on 6 years, definitely Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. Another one, Stellantis. This was one of the worst sellers last year in 24, and it shows. And here we are again. 2024 Dodge Hornet plug-in hybrid, same thing, 0% on 72 months. So here we are, Stellantis trying to push a lot of their products out the door. 24s. I've seen older vehicles. I showed you in a previous video here this week, 23s and 22s yet that they're still brand new on the lots across when you do a nationwide search. There's still some of these vehicles by Stellantis that are 22s, 23s that are brand new. It has never been sold. Another one, Ford F-150 Lightning. Should be of no shocker. Ford's been incentivizing the F-150 Lightnings as well as the E-Mustang Mach-E since the second coming, right? And this is a 2024 F-150 Lightning. They're saying, look, they're going to give you a 0%, 72 months, $4,000 cash back. That's plus a $4,000 cash back. They're throwing all kinds of money at these vehicles because they're not selling very well. Basically, $10,250 cash back on Flash, Lariat, Platinum, XLT, and in a national deal. This also ends at the end of the month. So get it while it's hot until the next deal comes around. We know that that's kind of ongoing. It's a rotating joke about incentives on these EVs. And the F-150 Lightning's kind of one of those vehicles. So some good deals if you've been thinking about it. We know the range is a little bit rough. Resale's even worse. If you really wanted to get into one and you want to get into a truck and you don't even want to look at one of those, you know, with the T on it, a truck, it's just bad news right now. Another one here, we have a 24 Subaru WRX. You know, since Subaru kind of dropped their reliable gearbox, they went with a CVT in the sporty vehicles like the WRX. People have been losing interest in these vehicles, and it shows. It's no longer the hot tamale that it once was. So you can get a brand new old stock 24 Subaru WRX, 0%, a goose egg for 48 months, 4 years and 0%. So not a bad deal there at all. Yeah, you get the CVT transmission, which I've spoken, a turbocharged flat 4-cylinder engine. And, you know, it gets the infamous all-wheel drive system that Subaru's known for, 11.6-inch touchscreen, and all of the modern amenities and safety features you can imagine. So it's a great feature, it's a great car, and a lot of the young buyers love these because of their sort of sporty look and the appeal to rally racing. So if you were thinking about buying one, this could be as good a time as any. They're basically giving you a pretty good discount. Now, with that said, when there's big discounts, there's one of two things going on, and you have to take a note. Either they're giving you a discount because they're purely not selling, or they're fattening up the base price so much that they can give you 0% because that's usually where they're bearing the prices in the incentive. So if you're getting 0% for X amount of months, chances are the base price is higher. So if you want to go in there and buy cash, it's going to be significantly higher. Nissan, we know the CEO just got canned this week. Terrible news for him. The CFO left a while back, and now they're looking at replacing all their top leaders. Things are getting rough. They didn't want to get together with Honda, and there was all kinds of troubles there. The quality with the CVTs, and Nissan's been going downhill for years. It takes a long time to build a company. It takes even longer to wreck it, but it seems like they're they're on the right road for that. But here we have, if you're considering one anyhow, and you want to go EV, remember, there's a lot of common themes with a lot of these incentivized vehicles. A brand new 25 Nissan Ariya, and that's 0% for 72 months. So if you want to get into a Nissan electric vehicle, take your chances. There you can, 0% financing for 72 months. And what is a $7,500 cash back on Engage, Engage Plus, Evolve, and Platinum Plus. National deals good to the end of the month. We're seeing still, like, nobody's really buying a lot of sporty vehicles yet. And so as a result, you're getting incentives. 24 Mazda Miata MX-5. It's a hot car. They're reliable, they're fun, furious. And realistically, it's quite surprising that you're getting a decent deal here, but it's 0% for 36 months. So if you're taking a 36-month loan term on this, you know, it's going to be a substantial monthly payment. Don't kid yourself. But 0% financing on that. And again, could be perfect time just in spring. Think about it. Drop the top, you're heading out, sun's shining. What better way than a reliable car like a Mazda Miata or an MX-5? So here we go. Great deals there. $500 cash back on Club Grand Touring and Sport. National deals again to the end of the month. Any interesting vehicles from your perspective? Absolutely. There's one or two in there. I'd certainly buy that Miata. I love that car. Those are a lot of fun. They're reliable and they're great. And with all of that said, be sure to check out a couple new videos from my other channel, 6-Speed Reviews. Check out that Mercedes. How about that Jaguar? Some amazing reviews, some great content, and some fun cars. Definitely want to check it out. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.